Nazareth, where Jesus grew up. It's a 30-minute drive from where I live in Tiberias on the shore of the Sea of Galilee. It's still a thrill to be where Jesus walked and taught and healed. The colors and distances and landscapes and ideas of the gospel become more vivid. And somehow, being present in the current political and social landscape of occupation and domination of one people by another, as Jesus was, makes the gospel more pointed, more relevant, more challenging. Many hear Jesus as promising the kingdom to come when all is fulfilled and Christ has returned. But many more, particularly those who are oppressed and marginalized, read Jesus' sermon that we heard read to us this morning as a manifesto for kingdom living now. It can be both, of course. The kingdom is not yet and already here. Nazareth is an unusual Israeli town because of its 28,000 people, 31% are Christian and 69% Muslim. Jewish Israelis don't live in Nazareth itself, but in Hof Galil, above Nazareth. You might not be aware that 20% of the population of Israel within the 1948 borders are Arab Israelis or Palestinian Israelis. Across Israel and the occupied Palestinian territories, the Christian population is less than 2%. And as life becomes more difficult for Arab citizens of Israel and Palestinian citizens, those with education or family abroad are choosing to leave. The churches are very concerned about the future, given this hemorrhaging. But despite their small numbers, Christians have disproportionately been influential in education and health, and as advocates for justice and peace. One man who has greatly influenced his community in Iblin, which is about 40 minutes from Nazareth, is Father Elias Shakur of the Malkite Greek Catholic Church. His first book, Blood Brothers, tells the story of the Christian school that he founded, which has students from all three Abrahamic faiths, Jewish, Christian, and Muslim. And Shakur has been very influential in explaining that the conflict in Israel-Palestine is not a religious conflict. It's a colonial settler one. Shakur insists that the answer is recognition of shared humanity. Blood brothers, we all bleed. The unique Christian contribution, he says, is love of enemies. To Shakur, social justice is a vital part of the gospel. In his exploration of the Beatitudes, Shakur explains that his knowledge of Aramaic has him translate the Beatitudes not as blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, but get up, go ahead, do something, move, you who are hungry and thirsty for justice, for you shall be satisfied. And instead of blessed are those who work for peace, God will call them his children. He has get up, go ahead, do something, move, you peacemakers, for you shall be called children of God. Shakur says, to me, this reflects Jesus' words and teachings accurately. I can hear him saying, get your hands dirty to build a human society for human beings. Otherwise, others will torture and murder the poor, the voiceless, and the powerless. There's something in this drive and urgency from Shakur, this active embodiment of the kingdom of God, in Jesus' sermon in Nazareth to his home congregation. The good news for the poor and the liberation of the captives is not something for some future hope, but a present reality embodied in Jesus himself. Jesus announces jubilee, liberation. He says, today is Liberation Day. For Palestinian Christians, whose daily lives are a round of shortages, humiliations, and restrictions, it's hard to keep faith with this. But they do not feel they have a choice. Hope is something you make, says Nader Abu Amshar, who's the CEO of the Department of Support for Palestinian Refugees who've been working in Gaza since about 1950, doing vital work before 7th of October 23, and extraordinarily resourceful since then in finding ways for their staff to support Gazans in the 22 months since the war started. Nader tells how clinic staff displaced by the IDF from their homes more than once, and with their clinic destroyed, adapted a van as a traveling dispensary, supporting people with very basic health care and hygiene needs. Sumud is the Palestinian word for resilience, and I am in awe of the sumud shown by individuals and communities, both Christian and Muslim. This photo was taken, I think, in January 24. I'm sure neither the vans nor the people are looking like that now. Get up. Go ahead, do something, move, you who are hungry and thirsty for justice, for you shall be satisfied. Get up, go ahead, move, you peacemakers, for you shall be called children of God. The Nasser family live outside Bethlehem in territory illegally occupied by Israel in 1967 on a hilltop farm, which was purchased by their great-grandfather during the Ottoman Empire. Unusually, they have proof in the form of court papers, which is why the encircling illegal settlements have not yet succeeded in removing them from their land. When I first visited in 2009, there was one settlement on a neighboring hill. Now the entire farm is surrounded. And every time a new settlement is built, land is confiscated, and land around the settlement is confiscated as a security zone, and roads are built that only Israelis are allowed to drive on. So the net effect of this is that the occupied Palestinian territories have been divided and divided and divided into smaller and smaller areas where Palestinians are free to move. Since October 7th, there's more checkpoints, 800 new checkpoints and road closures, and the checkpoints in and out of the West Bank close for no apparent reason at any hour, and so people are taking perhaps an hour and a half to do a journey that in the past would have taken them 10 minutes. The Nasser's farm, called Tent of Nations, is overlooked by houses with swimming pools and green lawns. But they're forbidden to have mains electricity or running water. They've adapted in extraordinary ways using solar panels and rock cisterns to store water. But the most extraordinary thing about the Nasser family is their commitment. At the gate of the farm, there is a stone with the words, "We refuse to be enemies. We refuse to be enemies." Daoud Nasser has built international support for the Tent of Nations, and he's got many international volunteers to help on the farm, which of necessity uses sustainable ecological methods. But the settlers are encroaching. There's a caravan pressing up against the fence. They know it's only a matter of time until their land is taken. In a recent newsletter, Daoud wrote, "We believe that even when we are physically confined, our spirit cannot be imprisoned." The Tent of Nations continues to inspire and empower people through our steadfast commitment to non-violence, creativity, and faith. Our farm is a living testimony. We continue to cultivate the soil, plant seeds of hope in dry and difficult ground, and prepare the long path for justice. The Church of Scotland's presence in Israel-Palestine is also about planting seeds of hope and preparing the long path for justice. The Scots Hotel in Tiberias, where I'm based, was originally the Scots Mission Hospital, founded in 1884. The main building opened in 1894, along with the doctor's house and the manse, and that's the main campus for the hotel. At the end of the 20th century, a further investment was made in building new block of guest bedrooms. Dr. Torrance and his team treated Jews, Muslims, and Christians who needed care equally. He welcomed everybody. The hotel in Tiberias employs staff from all communities who work together in quite a remarkable way. Even following the polarization which occurred after 7th October 23, there's a degree of mutual respect and care which translates into excellent service to guests and which witnesses to the possibility of coexistence. A couple of slides of the Sea of Galilee and the hotel. Our hotel in Jerusalem also employs actually only Palestinian workers, some from the West Bank and some from East Jerusalem. Since the 7th of October, work permits have almost dried up. Checkpoints open and close more erratically. Unemployment in the West Bank is currently 80%. So those with work are supporting a wide network of family. So their employment is vital. Without international tourism, it has been a challenge to keep the hotels afloat. Following so closely on COVID, there was no cushion of reserves, so both hotels have worked really hard, made cuts and savings, and in the absence of overseas tourists are surviving on Israeli tourist business. And that's really important too. Recently, a Jewish Israeli guest in the House Hotel in Jerusalem stood up at breakfast and said, "I want to say something." The staff wondered what's coming. She said, "When I came here and saw that all the staff are Arab, I was frightened that perhaps they might wish me harm. But I have experienced nothing but love and kindness and hospitality. I've changed my mind." Our third establishment in Israel is Tabitha School, founded in 1861 by a Scot, Jane Walker Arnott, and gifted to the Church of Scotland in her will. It's the only mainstream Church of Scotland school anywhere in the world. Tabitha is a Christian school with pupils who are Christian, Muslim, and Jewish, and quite a proportion of international students because the medium of learning is English. Some members of staff have family members serving with the Israeli military, and some members of staff have family in Gaza. In a remarkable feat of will, politics is left at the door, and the school continues to nurture a welcoming, inclusive environment where kindness is key. This is, of course, a political as well as a theological statement. I'm going to share a short clip from our recent promotional video to give you a flavor of why the school is valued by families.
Tabitha students are all the time exposed to different cultures. They are brought to situations in which they have to exchange with students of their age that have completely different lives.
In the Middle East, generally speaking, a school like Tabitha is a ray of hope. The fact that it works, everyone can accept the differences. These are kids that can make a difference.
Tabitha is really nurturing a society that will be open, that will know coexistence from their own experience. They will not have to learn what it means because they will know already what it means from the very beginning. Tabitha students are all the time exposed to different cultures. They are brought to situations in which they have to exchange with students of their age that have completely different lives.
In the Middle East, generally speaking, a school like Tabitha is a ray of hope. The fact that it works, everyone can accept the differences. These are kids that can make a difference.
Tabitha is really nurturing a society that will be open, that will know coexistence from their own experience. They will not have to learn what it means because they will know already what it means from the very beginning. Tabitha students.
Well, I don't think it hurt to hear it twice. Get up, go ahead, do something, move, you who are hungry and thirsty for justice, for you shall be satisfied. Get up, go ahead, do something, move, you peacemakers, for you shall be called children of God. An important aspect of our work as mission partners in Israel, Palestine, is our relationship with partners. NGOs, non-government organizations, are really struggling. There are new laws about tax on foreign income and about declaring details of employees. There's also the polarization I mentioned earlier. Fear and mistrust characterize most relationships, and rarely do the different communities meet and mingle. But there are notable exceptions, often women-led. Since almost immediately after the 7th of October, my friend Nadia, an Arab Israeli, and her friend Anat, a Jewish Israeli, have hosted an online community called Women Heart to Heart. The encounter uses English, Hebrew, and Arabic, with everyone speaking the language most familiar to them and translated for everyone else. Using empathy and self-expression, they've been sharing how they feel and what their needs are. It's really painful at times. Participants might include a Druze woman from the Golan Heights, or someone from the West Bank when they can get internet. And we've even had people dialing in on their phone from Gaza, as well as Jewish Israelis and Jews from around the world. NVC, or nonviolent communication, which is the methodology that Nadia and Anat are teaching, is really challenging, but it builds community and understanding. Nadia also works for Cindiana of the Galilee, a long-time partner of the Church of Scotland, a fair trade cooperative focused mainly on olive oil production and opportunities for education for Arab women. But again, it's an organization where Jews and Arabs work together side by side. One of their most recent successful ventures is beekeeping. I was privileged to attend the graduation of the last group of baby beekeepers. Working with an amazing man, Yossi Aoud of Bees for Peace, A group of women, both Arab and Israeli, come together to learn about the life of bees. They visit Yossi's farm and they're given a hive of their own to take home. Yossi explains that overcoming the fear in one area of life can open the way to overcoming other fears. One Israeli woman said that she had many times before been a member of a dialogue group with Arab Israelis, but that this experience was different. The women were learning new skills and information together. They were overcoming their fear of bees and at the same time their fear of one another. The experience went deep very quickly, and strong bonds of love and trust have formed. This sweet story of success is unfortunately rare in Israel-Palestine at the moment. I want to tell one more story from the West Bank again. It's the story of Auda Hathalin from Kher, a Bedouin village in Masafayata in the South Hebron Hills. I never met him because I was only able to visit Masafayata once and he wasn't there. But Auda was a remarkable man, aged 31, a teacher and a journalist. Over many years, he used hospitality as a tool to educate and help international visitors understand what life was like for his community and to welcome them to Kher. Kher was founded in the 1950s by Bedouin who had been displaced from the Negev desert during the formation of the State of Israel. Literally next door, and you can see some of the houses behind this picture of Auda, an illegal settlement called Carmel was founded in 1981. The Palestinians have done everything they can to remain on their land, and the settlers and the Israeli authorities have done everything they can to make them move voluntarily or otherwise. A month ago, Audi was shot and killed by a settler who was only briefly detained before being released. The next week, the settler used his excavator to fracture the water pipe to half the Bedouin village. Someone once remarked that the chickens in Carmel have more access to water and electricity than the villagers of Kher. Auda was a kind, gentle man who used creative, non-violent means of resistance. He was a contributor to the Oscar-winning film No Other Land, which, if you haven't seen it, I would recommend. His death is an enormous blow to his village and to their supporters. The injustice is raw. His brother, in an emotional appeal to the international community to oppose the occupation, said, "May Auda's memory be a revolution." May his memory be a revolution. Jesus, in his Nazareth sermon, was announcing a revolution of love and justice, the kingdom of God. Get up, go ahead, move, do something, you who are hungry and thirsty for justice, for you shall be satisfied. Get up, go ahead, do something, move, you peacemakers, for you shall be called children of God. I've not, of course, said much about Gaza. I think all I want to do just now, and perhaps get into it more at the question and answer session, is set a little bit of context. Gaza is a strip of land on the Mediterranean coast, separate from the rest of the Palestinian territories. It's roughly the size of the Isle of Arran and has 2.3 million residents. Fenced in, entry controlled entirely by the IDF. It was, in effect, for 17 years, a large open-air prison. And then Hamas and others broke out. October 7th was a war crime. Attacks on civilians are always war crimes. But since October 7th, for 22 months, Gaza has been pulverized. To call it a war is inaccurate. There are no air defenses in Gaza, so when they're bombed, and to date, 4 times the firing power of the atomic bomb dropped on Nagasaki has been dropped on Gaza. It's a slaughter. People have been displaced many times. Many are living in tents. And as you know, famine has taken hold. The United Nations, well, that was a map to show you. And that's a tented village, which has also been bombed. The United Nations, where the US has a veto, have been powerless to stop the assault. Israel has made it impossible for the agencies of the United Nations to do their work, accusing them, without evidence so far, of collaboration with Hamas. And the UK, along with the US and others, have been complicit. We have supplied weapons parts and practical assistance. The UK's condemnation of what more and more experts are calling genocide, and which is definitely systemic and systematic ethnic cleansing, have to date been muted, words only. Even the PM's promise to recognize the state of Palestine was framed as a threat to Israel. We'll recognize Palestine unless you agree a ceasefire in Gaza and allow aid. If international law and human rights are not upheld in Gaza, we are all at risk. All those who have committed war crimes, including Hamas, should face consequences under the law. But if the law has broken down, what happens then? Since 1948, Israel has chosen to ignore international law, creating generations of refugees and relying on surveillance, military might, and walls for security. On October 7th, those securities failed, and this has had a devastating effect on the psyche of Israelis, whose TVs remind them daily of the atrocities carried out by Hamas, and whose focus is the return of the hostages. Those Israelis who speak out for justice for Palestinians and who work for peace for all are very few and very brave. As individuals, of course, we feel helpless. We have relatively little power, but there are things we can do. We can keep ourselves informed. We can follow the reports of the Human Rights Special Rapporteur for Palestinians, Francesca Albanese, or we can watch an interview. We can read or follow Rabbis for Human Rights, a brave Israeli organization committed to doing justice the Amos way, committed to doing justice, loving mercy, walking humbly with God. We can write again to our MP, asking for the UK to take a stronger position, to take sanctions. We can pray in an informed way. And as we do, we must work on holding on to having an open heart so that we do not hate. That's Rabbis for Human Rights. As the Christian Aid Prayer for Israel-Palestine says, pray not for Arab or Jew, Palestinian or Israeli, but pray for yourself, that you may keep them both together in your heart. Get up, go ahead, do something, move. You who are hungry and thirsty for justice, for you shall be satisfied. Get up, go ahead, do something, move, you peacemakers, for you shall be called children of God. So be it. Amen.